Weakers, tweakers, thrill seekers, welcome back to another freaking episode of Our Week in Review. My name is freaking Taylor, the freaking Sandman, freaking Lofton, and with me, as always, is freaking Sandy, the Sandman, freaking Farkas, coming all the way from freaking Seattleite, New York, freaking Seattleite, Washington. This is WAYO LP Rochester. It also might be freaking Soundtunes or freaking iTunes. Weakers, tweakers, thrill seekers, start your engines. This is Our Week in freaking Review. Sandy, the Sandman, freaking Farkas, how are you doing? What is going on? Tell me a little bit about your freaking week and your freaking life.
This is Sandy, this freaking coming all the way down from freaking Soundtown. I'm doing a little satellite uplink, freaking this week, all the way from satellite, freaking Soundtown, Washington. I'm sorry. What was your question?
Just trying to check in on how you're freaking doing. As Weakers and Tweakers out there know, Doug Jordan has been on a freaking, basically a never-ending sex fantasy vacation with his freaking boyfriend and lover and secret freaking lover, Sanjay. He is tasting his shrimp up and down his body. He is basically the two of them are using each other as freaking amusement parks, exploring all sorts of crevasses that are built right into their freaking beings. So he is gone. He is out. No freaking sports desk again this freaking week. We look forward to hearing back from him, although we think maybe he has gone the way of the freaking dodo, which he says is a bird. I'm pretty sure he's freaking wrong. Other than that, freaking Tadia freaking Risher is nowhere to be freaking found. He is living in a freaking sex dungeon, although financially speaking, he is sort of in peril in that situation because because Doug Jordan hasn't sent him any freaking funds. And in that way, I think his life might be freaking in jeopardy because basically, let's be freaking honest, he's living in a freaking house of freaking prostitution.
Right. Yeah. And he doesn't have that much longer left to live. So basically, what's going on with me is Mike Doug Jordan is freaking shrimping off in front of freaking Sanjay. Sanjay is freaking shrimping off in front of freaking MDJ. And you know, freaking Tay, the other guy is getting freaking shrimped off, with his freaking cancer. So that's what. Yeah. So that's. Does that answer your freaking question? Or?
Yeah, that sounds pretty freaking good. I can't. No, I don't know if that I actually asked a freaking question, but how are you? What have you been freaking doing? How was your freaking week, and what is going on?
Things are, my gosh, things are freaking going worse than freaking ever. I'm trying to find a freaking way out of my freaking relationship. I'm basically very freaking reluctant to even call it a freaking relationship. Her and I, we're not exactly a freaking Mike Doug Jordan freaking Sanjay situation. There is no
Right.
freaking love involved. Yes, there is freaking sex, which we both freaking enjoy. Me on a lesser extent because I think it's kind of freaking disgusting. But on another note, there have been more developments on the from the freaking little freaking documentary that my freaking co-host Dick was trying to get me involved in.
Yeah, for Weakers and Tweakers out there who don't know, freaking Dick is the co-host of Sandy's freaking show, and he signed him up to be part of a freaking docu-series called Short Freaking Order, which is about the lives of freaking midgets and their freaking evil freaking fathers.
Yeah, they're saying they're gonna freaking hunt down. They're gonna find my freaking dad, and they want to get the freaking reunion on freaking camera. And they said they're very freaking close. They've been in correspondence with a freaking detective Michael Pena, who apparently was the guy who helped me get back into the freaking country after my father freaking. Basically, for Weakers and Tweakers who don't freaking know, my father freaking cut off my freaking pinky and blew up my freaking car and stole all my documents, and I was stuck in freaking Mexico for a very long time.
Yeah, and he also tricked you into getting a girl pregnant in freaking Mexico. That's part of it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was pregnant when I freaking had sex with her, but the kid is freaking mine.
Yeah.
But it's also freaking Doug Jordan's because he freaking paid her off and got freaking silenced her.
And he gave her the freaking funds. He gave you the freaking funds to return to freaking Mexico.
Yeah. That's
And basically, that you were living off his freaking dime when you got her freaking pregnant, so he is responsible for her. So the Short Order docu-series is trying to hunt down your freaking tiny freaking piece of shit father, and geez Louise, down on my knees. I'm really looking forward to seeing it, and if they need any freaking extras or if they need any character freaking witnesses, let them know to call the freaking Our Week hotline at 914-513-6200 freaking 1.
Yeah, absolutely. In no way will you be freaking involved with any of the with whatever happens with the freaking Short Order. And freaking Dick, he was trying. He was like, hey, if you're not freaking comfortable with this, you don't have to go through with it. And I said, Dick, you are such a freaking piece of shit. And I said, Dick, you better stop talking. I'm gonna freaking clock you. I swear to God, I'm gonna freaking hit you in the face. And he said, he said, I'm just so freaking sorry. Just, I know this is my fault. I don't want to be pushing. I don't want to be putting the freaking pressure on. And I said, Dick, I'm gonna freaking kill you if you don't shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, guess what? He freaking zipped it. He zipped his freaking lid.
Yeah. Well, that's, sometimes you need to freaking man up and tell people who you are, what you do, and what you're about to freaking do to their freaking mouth with your freaking fist when they're trying to help you out and make you some freaking extra money because your radio gig's not paying you too much. So,
right.
More freaking power to you, Dick. I'd love to meet you. You sound freaking hilarious. I imagine you very regularly with a freaking hole on the top of your head when you get excited. You spurt out freaking. You get freaking hard as a freaking rock, and you spurt out freaking white liquid all over your freaking body and all over the people that are around you. And I think that sounds freaking hilarious for freaking radio.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for Weakers and Tweakers, last week was freaking Memorial freaking Day. Actually, that was freaking yesterday at the time of this freaking recording. And I had a great freaking Memorial freaking Day. For Weakers and Tweakers out there who know, last week I talked about the fact that I found a new freaking outfit. And I have been wearing basically the same outfit my entire freaking life. And recently I was rummaging through freaking discarded boxes outside of a freaking Goodwill, and I found, you freaking guessed it, a brand new freaking old ass freaking officer's uniform for the U.S. Army. And I have not taken it off since. And Memorial Day, I decided to trounce around in my brand new outfit, and people were so freaking nice and accepting, and I got a lot of freaking handshakes, a lot of freaking thank you for your freaking service, and also I actually got a lot of freaking free food because I kept going out to eat, and everywhere I went, they just kept freaking comping my freaking meals. I got a lot of freaking free food.
Yeah, for Weakers and Tweakers that aren't picking up on this, Taylor found a freaking military officer's uniform, and he's been impersonating a freaking military officer, getting free food.
The thing about freaking dressing up the way that you feel you have always been and the way that you feel you'll always be is that it's so freaking freeing to see yourself the way that you feel on the inside. And when I'm wearing this freaking clothing, geez Louise, on my knees, I've never felt freaking better. After eating all this freaking free lunch, I went back to my place, took a quick nap, and I talked about this last week. In the wake of the death of internet famous freaking Grumpy Cat, I decided to turn one of my two freaking cats, Donovan freaking 2, the white Donovan, the older, haggardly looking Donovan, not the freaking Maine Coon. I decided to cut all of his freaking fur off, except that around his freaking face, so that, yeah, you guessed it, he can be freaking Mustache Cat. And he's going to take the freaking internet by storm. Weakers, tweakers, thrill seekers, you have never seen anything more freaking hilarious than freaking Mustache Cat. And the only freaking problem is that he's a freaking all-white freaking cat because of the stress that he went through when he lost. And when he got lost, he came back, he was all freaking white, looked like a totally different cat than the original freaking cat I used to have. And I had to shave him. And then I had to freaking, I thought, I don't want him to have a freaking white mustache. I got to dye him. So I got Just for Men freaking dye. I dyed it freaking black. And then I got a little freaking scissor happy, as people often freaking do. I got a little freaking scissor happy. I kept cutting it down and cutting it freaking down. First I started out with a freaking hilarious freaking handlebar mustache. And then I cut it down to just a freaking Fu Manchu. Then I trimmed it down further to basically your Tom freaking Selleck, and he looked freaking great. Donovan was proud and proper with his freaking mustache. But then I thought, well, what else can I freaking do? So I just kept trimming it down, and I think listeners might know where I'm going with this. Yeah, you freaking guessed it. Donovan has a freaking Hitler mustache now. And me and him took out to the town. I figured all this freaking great attention I was getting, I'm gonna stay in my freaking officer's uniform, hit the town Memorial Day, walk around, and I took freaking Donovan with me for photo opportunities because people kept shaking my hand. They kept wanting pictures with me. They kept wanting to talk to me about my freaking story. They kept asking me about my service in the army. And as I continued on, I just kept coming up with better and better war stories to freaking tell them. And eventually, I had a whole freaking hilarious freaking background where I was, yep, you guessed it, in freaking Vietnam, fighting the freaking VC, the Viet Cong, and geez Louise, down on my knees. I was a freaking hero. I had lived in the jungle for many freaking months, basically on recon, all alone, fighting the freaking VC. And when I went back out with freaking Donovan, you should have seen the freaking looks I got. A war hero with a freaking cat with a freaking Hitler mustache. It was freaking hilarious.
Yeah, that is freaking hilarious. Did anybody ask you about it? Did anybody freaking say anything? Or...
The looks that I got when I came back out with freaking Donovan, it changed from awe to being just completely
freaking disgust.
It seemed like people were in shock to see something so freaking beautiful and hilarious and freaking awesome. For a freaking war hero such as myself, someone who has been both Korea, Afghanistan, freaking Iraq, basically the whole freaking Middle East by the end of it, and Nam, and pretty soon I'm gonna start telling people I was in World War freaking II, and I'm carrying around a freaking cat. It looks like freaking. It looks like he's freaking Hitler, and it's just freaking, and it was just freaking hilarious. And people were just freaking staring at me. They were pointing their fingers. Some people looked like they were about to freaking cry. Some people looked like they were about to freaking there's a lot of people taking videos, a lot of footage. I was outside of our local Rochester Red Wings team, just trouncing around proudly. And I had a bucket with me that said "Tips Welcome," and geez Louise, down on my knees. That part of the day, people must have been out of freaking money because I didn't get a cent. Got a lot of attention though. And sometimes a look is worth 1,000 freaking words. It's also worth 1,000 freaking dollars because though my bucket was empty, my heart was full of looks from people who had gone by and noticed me and seen me, and I gotta tell you, I think this freaking Donovan 2, the mustache freaking cat, the Hitler mustache freaking cat, is gonna be a big freaking sensation once I can figure out how to start uploading pictures to freaking Facebook and iTunes.
Well, yeah, sounds like you're gonna be freaking internet freaking famous.
And that's what I've always freaking wanted because I'm already freaking radio freaking famous and freaking iTunes and SoundCloud freaking famous. And now I just got to get up on there and start making memes about my freaking hilarious freaking cat with a freaking Hitler mustache. Weakers, tweakers, thrill freaking seekers, we got a great freaking show for you. And I can't stress it enough. We have news, discussions, views, opinions, fresh takes, old freaking takes. We might have a sports story in here for two. We might have a freaking death certificate to read on the freaking air. We might even have freaking hilarious stories from around the freaking globe. But before we move on to that freaking segment, I do want to say if for weakers and tweakers out there who want to act as part of a freaking community in the Our Week freaking community, go ahead and call the 914-513-6201. That is the freaking Our Week hotline. You can leave a message. We will play it live on the freaking air. Doesn't matter what the you say. We will freaking play that just freely and openly, and we will put it directly on the freaking air, unfreaking censored, because this is Our Week in freaking review. Last week, Bart Starr, last week, Bart Starr, the former Green Bay Packer. Jeez Louise. Last week, Bart Starr, Brett Favre. Last week, Bart Starr, the former Green Bay Packer who became the first quarterback to win 5 championships, died in Birmingham, Alabama at the age of 85, according to Yahoo Sports. Starr played in Green Bay from 1956 through 1971. After winning both Super Bowl I and Super Bowl II and receiving the honor of Super Bowl MVP in both games, Starr was immortalized with an induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1977. His game-winning sneak in the Ice Bowl is immortalized in the great moments of NFL history. Starr had been in poor health since 2014 when he suffered 2 strokes and a heart attack, according to his freaking family. So freaking Brett Starr, Brett Starr, hilarious freaking quarterback. Jeez Louise, down on my knees for the Green Bay Packers. Brett Starr has freaking died. Sandy, what are your thoughts on the death and the life of freaking Bart Starr?
Excuse me, that's enough. Excuse me. I have freaking more than enough freaking thoughts. First of all, freaking Bart Starr should not be freaking still playing football at the ripe age of freaking 85. I mean, this guy freaking won Super Bowl freaking won. Mm-hmm. I mean, guys should freaking retire. I'm sorry, I am so freaking drunk. Guys should freaking retire after freaking Super Bowl freaking won. This guy freaking played football all the way up until he freaking died, and it was and obviously freaking football that freaking killed him. 85-year-old man you can't be taking freaking tackles. You can't be taking freaking sacks. I mean, imagine this guy getting a freaking QB sack and you could just rip this guy in freaking half.
Well,
he's freaking falling apart.
Yeah, and in the earlier freaking copy I had read, they said that this guy took a freaking ton of sacks. This guy took so many freaking sacks. Louise, down on my knees. He was just taking sacks all freaking day. He took he was taking them on the freaking chin. A lot of sacks on the chin. A lot of sacks on the cheek. Sacks around his freaking mouth. He was getting sacks dipped on him.
This guy was getting freaking slapped with sacks left and freaking right. This guy was getting a freaking sack a day. That was a freaking sack a day. Keeps the freaking doctor away.
It turns out it keeps a freaking gravedigger in freaking business for freaking Bart Starr over here.
Freaking Fart Starr freaking got freaking slapped with his last sack at the age of freaking 85. And it was a freaking sack that finally freaking killed him.
Freaking and Brett freaking Starr. Jeez Louise, down on my knees. You were a true freaking American hero. The one thing that I wanted you to illuminate the audience on a little bit more was his freaking game-winning sneak at the freaking Ice Bowl, and that was immortalized. And if you could describe, because I'm sure you freaking remember it as I do so freaking well, what happened at the freaking Ice Bowl that was so immortalizing and made out to be one of the greatest NFL moments in freaking history.
Yeah, I think all Uyghurs and Tweakers remember the freaking Ice Bowl fondly. It was freaking December freaking night, freaking cold as the freaking Dickens, and freaking you got freaking Fart Starr, and he's out there in the freaking Ice Bowl, and they say, and they're down. Jeez Louise, must have been freaking at this point must have been freaking 16 freaking points. Freaking clock is running. Yeah. Excuse me, don't. The freaking clock is freaking. The clock is freaking running, and they say, and the rest of the team is saying, fart sack, we gotta take this freaking loss. We just gotta take this and row and freaking move on. He said, no, we're freaking going for it. Yeah. And they went to do a freaking Hail freaking Mary. And you know what he said? He said, and you're going to catch it. And he pointed at the freaking new guy, the freaking rookie. First person in the NFL to be freaking 21 years old. Freaking, this is just a freaking kid. And he said, you're going for it. And they said, but there's no point. We still can't even freaking win. The thing was, they freaking did the Hail Mary. He's freaking in the freaking end zone. Kid gets freaking crushed. Kid freaking dies. And he doesn't freaking catch the ball, and they freaking lose the Ice Bowl like they always were going to.
Yeah, and it was absolutely freaking hilarious. And for Weeks and Tweakers out there who haven't seen the freaking Ice Bowl, I freaking highly recommend it. It's not in freaking theaters, and I can't tell you to go see it, but if I could, I freaking would. Ice Bowl starring freaking
hilarious movie, freaking starring Fartsack, 100 freaking stars. Favorite part is when the freaking kid dies at the end too. Freaking spoiler alert. Sorry.
Yeah, it goes from being it takes a sharp turn into dramatic territory right there at the end, because otherwise it's absolutely freaking hilarious. And freaking fart sack, geez Louise, you were a great American hero, and we're all gonna freaking miss you.
Yeah, we freaking miss you. We freaking miss you so much.
Yeah. Last week, an Oregonian man pleaded guilty to initiating a false report after he was caught stealing money that his daughter had raised through cookie sales for her Girl Scouts of the USA, according to the Huffington Post. Brian Couture called 911 to report that someone had entered his home through a sliding glass door and fought with him before fleeing, according to local station KOIN. The 40-year-old father told officers the assailant stole $740 of his daughter's Girl Scout cookie money from a jar, according to the Tacoma News Tribune. Couture's story later became embroiled with inconsistencies, and he later admitted to investigators that he had stolen the money to pay for an erotic freaking massage. Couture was put on probation, fined $100, and ordered to perform 80 hours of community service in addition to paying in addition to repaying what he stole from the Girl Scouts cookies funds. So, this guy is freaking absolutely freaking hilarious. And he got I imagine he got a freaking hand job. But I guess for $740, $760, however freaking many $700 he freaking stole, I imagine he could have gotten a lot more than a freaking hand job, if you know what I freaking mean. Jeez Louise, down on my knees. Maybe he get a freaking job, a freaking job. Maybe he get his freaking asshole licked. Maybe he get his freaking sucked. I imagine he could have gotten fingered in his freaking asshole. Maybe he could have gotten jacked off while he was freaking and then freaking spooge all over the freaking place, all over the and geez Louise, down on my knees. That's $750. Tadia Richard can tell you $750 freaking dollars. That's what that'll freaking get you.
Yeah, I hope you freaking fuck somebody. Because basically the thing about an erotic massage and jacking yourself off, well, that's what the thing about an erotic massage is, if you're getting freaking jacked off, the thing is you can jack your freaking self off. As most weakers and tweakers and freaking Taylor especially freaking can freaking attest to.
Yeah.
Nope, there's no point in freaking having somebody else freaking jack you off, because it's the same exact thing as jacking yourself off.
Yeah, and
that's my personal experience. I got freaking jacked off yesterday.
Yeah,
and I gotta tell you, I freaking hated the whole thing. She think those teeny tiny little freaking hands can't even freaking wrap her little hand around my freaking giant big freaking.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too. For weakers and tweakers out there who don't know, you have so much freaking control if you freaking do it your freaking self. Now, that means you can freaking decide when you finish. You can decide when you freaking start. You can decide to take a little break so you can go longer. If somebody else is freaking doing it for you, geez Louise, down on my knees, you could go at any freaking time. And you can just and geez the freaking wheeze, if you know what I mean. And sometimes there's a lot of weakers and tweakers out there know this. When a man is freaking getting close to that feeling that is one of the greatest feelings in the freaking world, he might want to savor that freaking feeling longer by slowing down his freaking tug, by pulling back on the freaking throttle, and then when he's getting close to that feeling for the last final time, and he says, "Geez Louise, down on my knees, enough is freaking enough," he might want to speed up and go extremely freaking fast, throw caution to the wind, basically throw dick skin to the freaking wind, because he's going to be red and freaking raw by that time he's freaking done. This guy's freaking hilarious. What I did want to ask is, what is your freaking favorite freaking Girl Scout cookie?
I like the. I gotta tell you, I don't freaking appreciate freaking shortbread. There's so many of those freaking cookies that just freaking flavorless, freaking moisture, freaking suckers. I freaking hate those. I'm all about the freaking caramel, freaking chocolate, freaking coconut. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about the freaking samosa. Yeah, freaking samosa.
Yes, the chocolate freaking, sometimes they're called chocolate freaking delights. We did a whole show on this for weakers and tweakers out there who might remember on WAYO, freaking worst radio station in the history of the world, Rochester. But the freaking chocolate freaking caramel delights, also known as freaking Samoans, or maybe Samoas, I don't know. I think it's offensive.
Yeah. It's got to be freaking Samoan, but yeah, you're not supposed to say that anymore. It's a bad word.
Yeah, you're definitely not supposed to say that on freaking radio. So for weakers and tweakers out there, yeah, the chocolate freaking Samoas are freaking amazing. I also freaking like freaking Thin Mints, and I also like the Whoopsie Doos, which you can't freaking get in freaking box anymore.
Yeah, I also am a huge fan of the freaking whoopsie doozits. And it's really a freaking shame you can't get them in a freaking box anymore. But if you're lucky enough to find a loose one in a freaking at your local freaking grocer, go ahead and freaking pick up a whoopsie doozit and freaking call into freaking Wayo.
Yeah. Well, actually, call into the freaking Our Week hotline, which you can. It's the number. I've read the number twice already. So, last week, footage of self-help guru Tony Robbins using racial slurs and describing how he shocked a woman fan by kissing her after she said his techniques didn't work was revealed, according to BuzzFeed News. In the resurfaced 1980s video, Robbins uses the N-word several times during a presentation and describes how he explained to one man that if he didn't stop taking offense about matters of race in matters of race, he would never be freaking free. Robbins claims to have helped millions of fans overcome their darkest difficulties while building a $1 million business and working with celebrities including Oprah, Serena Williams, the Kardashians, Donald Trump, and freaking Bill freaking have sex with anything freaking Clinton. So this freaking guy, Tony freaking Robbins, sounds, I thought he was freaking hilarious. Now I guess he's freaking racist, using the freaking N-word in the 1980s on a freaking video. Geez Louise, down on my knees. He's freaking, I think he might have freaking giantism. He's kind of...
yeah. The thing about it is that I thought freaking Tony Robbins was a freaking black guy.
Yeah. He honestly sounds like a black guy. Not his voice, but
he's a freaking white guy.
Yeah, he shouldn't be using that freaking word.
He shouldn't be saying the freaking N-word. Yeah.
I think
not supposed to freaking do that.
Tony Robbins sounds like a football star or a basketball star. So definitely not a freaking white guy.
No, he sounds like he would have been a freaking basketball star in freaking 1980s. Definitely wouldn't be saying the freaking N-word.
But
he'd be freaking allowed to be because he's a freaking black guy. But instead, just a giant freaking white freaking racist.
Yeah. I mean, if his name was something like Sidney Robbins or Melvin Robbins.
Joseph Robbins.
Yeah, Joseph Robbins. Melvin Robbins.
Richardson Robbins.
Yeah, Dick Robbins. These are all white names. These are all names that ring true for white people. But Tony Robbins, it does sound like a black name. So, Weakers, Tweakers, Thrill Seekers, we don't condone the things that Tony Robbins said, but we are glad we are able to read this freaking story for you and open up a dialogue about freaking race in freaking media and in freaking the world today, and especially in the freaking United freaking States, where we broadcast to freaking live once a week, every freaking week, and we never freaking stop. And this has been one of our freaking campaigns. And since day one, we've been going after freaking race. We've been talking about race. We've been opening up in a dialogue about freaking race and how the ever-changing freaking landscape is ever freaking changing, and it's a freaking landscape, and how it doesn't stop freaking changing.
Right.
That's what we do at Our Week in Review.
Excuse me. The thing about it is you have to freaking open up a freaking dialogue. That's the only way anything's going to happen is if you freaking agree to freaking, we got to open up a freaking dialogue, you know?
Yeah. Well,
that's what I've been saying since freaking day one is if anything's gonna freaking happen, we gotta freaking open up a freaking dialogue.
It's important for Weakers and Tweakers to understand that if we don't have a freaking dialogue to open up, then where do you go from there?
Freaking what is if we're not able to freaking open a freaking dialogue, then what even is this?
Yeah. This is basically this. If we can't open up a dialogue, this is a complete waste of time. Last week, a Wendy's employee who was captured on video taking a bubble bath in the restaurant's kitchen was fired, according to Yahoo Lifestyles. Posted on Snapchat and shared Tuesday on Facebook, a Wendy's worker in Milton, Florida, wearing only a pair of shorts, lowered himself into an industrial sink filled with soap and said, "Take a bath, get in there," the woman who was filming said. "And how does it feel?" "It's warm," the employee answers. "Turn on the jets." The employee in the bathtub asks for a towel, and the person filming commands, "Wash your armpits." She hands him a paper towel, and he scrubs his armpits, chest, and arms. "Let's see those toes," she says before stopping the video. A Wendy's spokesperson said the franchise is taking the incident very seriously and that the employee no longer works for the beloved burger freaking chain. So this guy gets in a freaking bubble bath in the freaking middle of a restaurant. He gets freaking fired. He works in a messy freaking restaurant. He can't take a freaking bubble bath there.
Yeah, I mean, I think this would come as no surprise to freaking Uyghurs and Tweakers, but Taylor himself has actually taken a freaking bath in a freaking Wendy's before.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Wendy's freaking bathroom, and he took the bath out of the freaking toilet.
Yeah, for Uyghurs and Tweakers out there, there have been times that I've been so freaking dirty, so smelly, so freaking completely messy that taking just a regular water bath, a soapless water bath in a freaking out of a freaking toilet has been actually the cleanest freaking option for me, and I'm not too proud. To not get down and dirty on my freaking knees and wash and soap and freaking water up in a freaking toilet bowl. And yeah, I've freaking done it. And, that's because I needed to get clean before I ate my freaking meal.
Well, and it was also because you freaking made mess in the other. So what happened was there was 2 stalls in the freaking Wendy's bathroom.
Yeah.
He made freaking mess all over himself in the one stall, and then moved to the next stall to freaking take a bath in the freaking toilet.
Yeah, and I had a freaking big meal coming, so I needed to get nice and soapy clean without even using any freaking soap. And I took basically a freaking cold water bath in a freaking toilet bowl, and unfortunately I was standing atop my freaking clothes, and my clothes got freaking wet with freaking toilet water, and I had to put them back on. Luckily it was freaking summer, and so after I left the freaking restaurant, I eventually did freaking dry off, but not before I got on the freaking bus.
And I was sitting there out in the freaking restaurant wondering what the heck is freaking taking him so long.
Yeah.
Little did I know he freaking pooped himself and then freaking took a bath in a toilet.
Yeah. And then I put the clothes back on that I pooped in.
Yeah. Yeah, and he came out. He came out of the freaking bathroom covered in poop and water. He sat down at the freaking table across from me. Smelled horrible. Looked disgusting. He freaking ate an entire freaking meal.
Yeah.
And basically cleared out the entire freaking restaurant. It would have freaking bothered me, but I was freaking very drunk. So
yeah,
just sat there and ate my freaking meal as well.
And then I got up and got a freaking baked potato and a freaking softie serve, and a softie for the road. Last week, O.J. Simpson's former manager revealed that the disgraced former football player admitted to having sex in a hot tub with Kris Kardashian, his best friend's wife, during the 1990s, according to Fox News. Simpson said he and his then wife Nicole, the one that he freaking killed, and Robert and Kris Kardashian were all in a jacuzzi one night while vacationing together, according to Norman Pardo in his new documentary, Who Killed Nicole. After Nicole and Robert left the two alone in the hot tub, they engaged in sexual freaking intercourse. The encounter ruined the couple's marriages and friendships, and that's what freaking Simpson's former manager claimed. Now, I was going to say, it sounds more like the freaking murder is what ruined O.J. Simpson's marriage, and not the freaking having sex with Kris Kardashian.
Yeah. I'd say that around the time that freaking O.J. Simpson freaking killed his wife, freaking Nicole, the marriage freaking completely was freaking just completely freaking dissolved with their freaking murder.
It freaking fell apart. Yeah, he wasn't able.
And you know what? I recently just freaking watched the O.J. Simpson series on the freaking internet. Because I was trying to freaking watch the freaking Simpsons, so I was freaking drunk. I couldn't figure out how to my freaking batteries in the remote freaking died, so I just had to freaking sit there and watch the whole freaking thing.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, this didn't freaking pop up in the freaking show. And you're watching freaking basically you're watching freaking Ross from Friends. And he's giving all sorts of freaking advice to freaking Homer Simpson, O.J. Simpson, and I'm thinking, and now that I'm hearing this, I'm wondering why the freaking heck was he doing that if the guy freaking had sex with his freaking wife?
Yeah, did he give him advice on how to have better sex with his freaking wife? Is that part of it, or?
No, I didn't even freaking. I don't freaking think so.
Yeah. I would think.
Freaking hilarious show though.
Yeah, it does sound hilarious. I'm gonna have to watch that because I love freaking Ross. I love freaking Ross from Friends. I also love freaking Ross Johnson from freaking Sound of Freaking Tomorrow. For Weakers and Tweakers out there who listen to this show on WAYLP Rochester, they know freaking Sound of Tomorrow comes on afterwards. But I want to get back to one thing. Enough about this freaking Ross Johnson guy. Although he's freaking absolutely freaking hilarious, and he's maybe other than Our Week in Review, maybe the second best show on the freaking air. Is Ross Johnson's Sound of Freaking Tomorrow, starring Ross and Heather freaking Jabowski. For Weakers and Tweakers out there, though, I just found out while doing a little freaking research on freaking OJ freaking Simpson and his freaking and his real freaking name is actually freaking Orenthal. That's his first. That's what the O freaking stands for. Is Orenthal James Simpson.
Yeah. What the heck? What the heck is a freaking Orenthal?
An Orenthal is not a freaking orange. I thought his first name was Orange because everybody calls him the Juice. I always assumed that his first name was Orange, his middle name was freaking Juice. His last name was Homer freaking Simpson. Turns out not the freaking case. He is an Orenthal. I believe it is some sort of deep cleaning product used on freaking hardwood, but I'm not totally freaking sure about that. So maybe instead of killing his freaking wife, he should have killed. You guessed it, his freaking mom and dad for naming him freaking Orenthal after their favorite freaking cleaning product. What do you think about that? Is that theory? That's a pretty good freaking theory.
Yeah, that's a pretty good freaking theory. Yeah, but instead of killing his freaking wife, he probably should have killed his freaking parents before he was even freaking. Honestly, he probably should have freaking just killed him freaking himself.
Yeah, that's true. He could have committed suicide.
Yeah, should have just freaking killed himself, and that would have been freaking hilarious.
Yeah, and then the guy from freaking Police Academy could have done the sound effects for him dying. I also feel bad for freaking Ron Goldman, the freaking waiter that nobody ever freaking mentions, that he also freaking killed. Ron Goldman's family, if you're listening, go ahead and call in. We'll do a nice little tribute for him.
That was the freaking funniest part of the freaking show that I watched. Was when his parents are like, how come nobody freaking cares? One scene in the freaking show, they shine a little light on this freaking guy, and then they just freaking move on.
Yeah, they move on. Yeah. Well, I mean, he was a freaking waiter. He wasn't a freaking famous, rich freaking celebrity or a rich celebrity's freaking husband or wife. So that's why nobody cares, because he's a freaking waiter, and geez Louise, down on my knees, they're a freaking dime a dozen. That's why I always freaking tip him a dime. I give him a dime and I say, hey, listen, you're a dime a dozen, but you shine as brightly as this dime right here. And then I flick it to him as I walk out the freaking restaurant.
Taylor tips freaking waiters 10 cents more than I freaking do. As Uyghurs and Tweakers are probably familiar with at this point, I consider myself one of the most frugal of men that have ever existed. I tip no waiter, and I tip freaking no one.
Yeah.
And more often than not, I try not to freaking pay for the freaking bill.
Yeah.
I try to get out of there before I have to freaking pay for it.
And who can freaking blame you? That's the thing. They couldn't. Yeah. It's not possible.
Don't even freaking try.
Yeah. Last week, a teenager who stole a rare endangered lemur from a Southern California zoo last summer has agreed to plead guilty to the crime, according to the Huffington Post. Authorities said 19-year-old Aquinas Quinn Casbar broke into the Santa Ana Zoo after hours last July and stole Isaac, who, at 32, is the oldest living ring-tailed freaking lemur in captivity in North America, according to the Orange County Register. Casbar, who intended to keep the endangered animal as a pet, used bolt cutters to cut a hole in the zoo's enclosures for lemurs and monkeys. As a result, several other animals escaped, though they were later captured and returned. Casbar apparently had a change of heart the next day and placed the lemur in a ventilated drawer outside of the Newport Beach Hotel with a note saying, "Please bring it to the police." Isaac is now safe and sound at home in his enclosure. Casbar is also the suspect in a string of robberies that included a pet tortoise, according to the Los Angeles Times. So this freaking guy, basically freaking Dr. freaking Doolittle of the freaking West, geez Louise, down on my knees, at 19 years old, I'm surprised he didn't freaking take off on one of his exotic freaking animals that he has, maybe ride a cheetah or sail on the back of his freaking giant freaking tortoise, or live inside of the shell of a freaking giant sea, what does a freaking Dr. Doolittle live in? So the shell of a giant sea, what do you call it? A snail. He lives in a snail.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to see the picture of this guy.
The only thing, let's talk about what this story's really about. This is a 19-year-old kid freaking showing signs of growing up to be a regular freaking Mike Doug Jordan. This kid is 19 years old and interested in freaking having sex with monkeys, and interested in having sex with freaking tortoises and turtles. And this is a freaking shame. This is a freaking tragedy. Yeah. 19 years old is too early to be freaking turning into freaking Doug Jordan.
Yeah, and the thing, and I wish so badly that Doug Jordan was here right now so that he could speak from the freaking broadcast station from our week studios directly to the freaking Casbar, and he could encourage him to to change his freaking path.
Seek help.
And he would say that. He would say, first it starts with a freaking couple of exotic animals, and first it starts out with a couple of farm animals, then more and more exotic you go, and eventually you move on to your freaking co-host of your show, who's also freaking pretty exotic, name of freaking Sunjay, and the next thing you know, you're freaking taking off every other week to these sex fantasy tours, and most likely in freaking Thailand or at least Eastern Asia somewhere, and you're basically on a tour, hanging on for your freaking dear life, and holding on to every freaking orgasm you freaking have. And once you start down that freaking path, it's pretty much over for you.
Yeah, and you freaking ride that train straight to freaking hell. What's a shame is that I think in this moment, if freaking Doug was here, this would be the freaking moment where he'd freaking finally open up.
Yeah.
I think if you were here, he'd finally freaking admit to all this.
Well, here's the thing. For weakers and tweakers out there who don't know, Doug has never been able to come to terms with what he has done. And I think this would allow him the opportunity to say, yes, everything is freaking true. The urine stashing, the sex with Sunjay, the farm animal sex, the freaking the herpes, which he doesn't even have to admit to because you can see him all over his freaking body, like chicken pox. He's just completely covered head to toe. It's hard to see where his skin begins and where the herpes start. They're just everywhere.
And the thing about it also is this moment. What this moment would freaking do is it would freaking open up a freaking dialogue, and we'd finally get. And the thing about it was, if you started to admit this stuff, I'd finally freaking respect the guy. I go, here we go. I go, yeah, let's freaking open up a freaking dialogue. Let's freaking talk. Yeah. And I think he would finally feel freaking good. Yeah. And I think he'd finally be able to freaking go to sleep at night, having to admit it. And then one of the two of us could finally be with his freaking wife. Yeah. I mean, I've already been with her, but we could freaking make a freaking fist.
Yeah, we could both be with his wife, honestly, if that happened.
Yeah, I wouldn't freaking care.
And Doug Jordan, I'm sure you're freaking listening. Let's make this a freaking goal. Let's let this happen. Let's open up a freaking dialogue, and we can take our freaking gloves off. We will shed light on your indiscretions, and we will allow the healing to really freaking begin. Because until you freaking open up in a dialogue, you're really not freaking talking about anything.
Right? Yeah. Doug, if you're listening, freaking put up your freaking dukes because we're freaking coming for you. Yeah. We're gonna freaking open up a freaking dialogue. You freaking piece of shit.
Last week, Elton John wrote an op-ed in The Guardian about the upcoming biopic musical Rocket Man, which details the life and career of John during the 1980s, saying that studios wanted to remove scenes involving drugs and sex to achieve a PG-13 rating, according to Esquire. "I just haven't led a PG-13 rated life," said the musician. "I didn't want a film packed with drugs and sex, but equally, everyone knows I had quite a lot of both of those during the 1970s and 80s. Rumors that the movie was being straight-washed have been circulating since April, but producer Matthew Vaughn has denied such claims, saying that filmmakers set out to make an R-rated movie, according to Digital Spy."
Whoa, freaking! What is a freaking Digital Spy? It sounds like freaking biohacker. If you ask me.
For weakers and tweakers out there that don't know, Biohacker is a freaking screenplay, and actually might be a real freaking thing. I can't even remember the origin of it anymore, but it's basically a brainchild of Sandy, and then the brainchild of me, and then basically the sex toy of freaking Doug Jordan, because geez Louise, we packed the freaking punches. Doug Jordan packed the freaking weird animal sex into it. We packed in the punches. And we wrote something that really crossed no bounds. But I'm really glad that freaking Elton John's movie Rocket Man is going to be filled with freaking awesome freaking gay sex and lots of freaking drug use. I'm sure it'll be a hilarious movie. And it's too bad they couldn't get a freaking PG-13 rating so freaking kids across the freaking country could go freaking see him. This sounds hilarious.
That's the thing. Yeah. What? some of these freaking R-rated movies that I think could do kids some freaking good. They should get a freaking special pass to get into a freaking R-rated movie. I think that every kid should go out and see a freaking movie filled with freaking sex, freaking filled with freaking gay sex. Basically what that does is it freaking opens up a freaking dialogue. What is this? What did I watch? What does it mean to me?
Yeah. Should it make me freaking horny? Should I be this freaking horny about it?
Should I be getting horny just freaking talking about it?
If I'm sitting next to a family member and I get this freaking horny, what does it mean?
Yeah. When should I freaking play with myself? When should I freaking touch myself? When should I I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. When should I freaking play with myself? When should I freaking touch my freaking penis? Freaking insert things in freaking holes. See if it freaking feels good. Freaking touch myself. Freaking play with my freaking
Yeah, how should I freaking feel if I'm feeling this way and I'm sitting next to a freaking family member? It's all part of the freaking process that a freaking open and honest freaking dialogue opens up, and I want to thank Elton John for writing that op-ed in The Guardian, and also for freaking making a movie about himself where he freaking is basically just rocketing his freaking semen out of his freaking penis and all over to the basically onto the freaking audience. And Weakers and Tweakers, you should really see this movie in freaking IMAX, because I hear freaking Elton John really freaking pops out in that way.
Yeah, find the freaking theater that's got the freaking 3D freaking glasses, because you're gonna feel like you're getting freaking semen all over you.
Yeah.
And that's according to freaking Digital Spy.
Yeah. According to Digital Spy, bring a freaking rain jacket and maybe a freaking sock, because geez Louise, the dialogue is out of the freaking box, and we're ready to get hard and freaking. Yeah. Last week, a man in Indianapolis reportedly called to police to report a theft of his Subway sandwich, according to Fox News. The circumstances in the disappearance of the sandwich were not immediately clear, but police were reportedly called to the scene after the foot-long sandwich went missing, WRTV reported. The incident mirrors another open investigation that took place in Polk County, Florida, where a man stole a foot-long sandwich from a gas station by stuffing the submarine into his pants. No arrests have been made in either case. So, for Weakers and Tweakers out there that don't know, and I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a euphemism, but there are many freaking objects that are shaped like submarines that are not freaking sandwiches that you should be stuffing into the back area where your pants would be. And I know freaking Doug knows all about this. Doug knows best. All about stuffing freaking submarine-like objects known as freaking dildos into his rear, into his near-dear freaking rear. Yeah, you guessed it. And into his near-dear best friend's rear, Sunjay. And I don't know if that's what they're freaking talking about. If they're writing directly, if this is about a freaking story about Doug Jordan or not, but it seems like it's about Doug Jordan, and it's not about Subway at all.
Yeah, I got to the end of this and I thought, geez Louise, this is a freaking non-story. Until I realized, what they're actually freaking talking about. It's freaking about Doug.
This is about Doug stuffing, you guessed it, freaking submarines, submarine-shaped objects into his trousers, and
his
then
freaking back trousers. Yeah.
and then he sits on them all freaking day long. It's freaking hilarious.
Doug, what are we gonna freaking do with you?
Yeah.
One of these days, Doug. One of these freaking days.
Yeah, absolutely. Weakers and Tweakers out there know what we're freaking talking about. Last week, a manipulated video purporting to show a slurring Nancy Pelosi was gaining traction on social media with millions of shares as the Democratic congressional leader traded insults with President Donald Trump over mental health, according to Agence France Presse. The footage in which Pelosi appears to speak in a clumsy manner found it had been slowed to around 75% of its normal speed. In the comments section of the post, Facebook users called Pelosi drunk, a babbling mess, and suggested she may have taken prescription drugs or be suffering from a stroke. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about freaking manipulated freaking footage.
Yeah.
I have been a freaking suspect. I have been not a freaking suspect. I have been a freaking victim of having manipulated footage many freaking times. And the most recent of these issues and incidences was when I was at a freaking TGI freaking Fridays eating at a freaking buffet, and they said that they had footage of me freaking taking items from the freaking buffet And yeah, you guessed it, stuffing it into my freaking overcoat and walking out. And I said, not freaking again. This will not happen freaking again. This is completely freaking inappropriate. It's unfair. Geez Louise, down on my knees. I don't know how you guys got the footage so fast and doctored it so quickly to make it look as though I am stealing freaking food, when obviously you just slowed down the freaking footage to make it look like I was stealing, when you didn't realize I was actually putting it on a freaking plate and going to eat it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and they doctored the footage of you freaking walking out the freaking front door with all the food hanging out of your freaking overcoat too, didn't they?
Yes, they freaking did, and they presented me with this doctored footage when I came back in there, and then they said, and we also have other instances of you tasting things and putting them freaking back. And I said, again, this is freaking outrageous. They said, you taste things, you put them back underneath the freaking heat lamps on the buffet, and you act like nothing happened. And I said, that's absolutely freaking ridiculous. What did I freaking taste? And then they showed me a picture of me cutting a piece of freaking holiday freaking ham off and then freaking eating a bite of it and putting it back on there. And I said, I would never freaking do that.
Yeah. And then they asked, they said, all right, well, let's see the pockets of your freaking overcoat right now. And you said freaking no. I know, because I was right there next to him.
Well,
I was freaking drunk, too.
Yeah, the thing about it is innocent until freaking proven.
And you did have freaking food in your overcoat.
The food in my overcoat was in there from freaking way freaking earlier, and it has nothing to do with my trip to freaking the TGI Fridays freaking Friday lunch freaking buffet, and I said you freaking touched the food that's in my freaking pockets, and I'm calling the freaking police on you for freaking salt and food stealing. And they said, we're gonna call the police on you. And I said, you wouldn't freaking dare. And then they said, well, we also have footage of something that you did in the bathroom. You are seen going into the bathroom, and then they said, when you are seen walking out, you are covered in a mess, and then the bathrooms were made a freaking absolute mess of. They said it looked like a freaking tornado went off inside of there, and the tornado was made out of, you guessed it, freaking dog shit.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, you also broke both freaking stall doors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ripped off their freaking hinges.
Just another situation of freaking doctored footage, and Narcy Pilarty, if you've, I feel for you, and this because I know it, because it's freaking happened to me.
Yeah, and so freaking Pilarty, freaking put up your freaking dukes, or freaking coming for you.
Yeah, that's freaking true. And actually also freaking, and this has also freaking happened to Sandy. That's one of the things. This has happened to Sandy many freaking times, where they say, sir, we have footage of you freaking being freaking totally freaking drunk, wandering through a freaking grocery store, freaking having a temper tantrum, breaking things, drinking beer, drinking freaking things, like cleaners that you shouldn't be freaking drinking.
Yeah.
And then they show him the freaking footage, and he goes, again, that freaking doctored footage.
Yeah. They said, well, look, and I said, look, I'm gonna freaking call the police for you for freaking doctoring this freaking footage. And they said, well, we're gonna call the police on you. And I said, well, I gotta get freaking out of here. And I was freaking drunk. I jumped in my car, freaking sped away, freaking hit a freaking stop sign.
And I'm not even sure you actually hit that freaking stop sign. That might be more freaking. That might be another case of freaking doctored footage.
Yeah. The thing about it is sometimes I can doctor the footage my eyes freaking see. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially the drunker I get. I feel like if I see something I don't like, I freaking erase it. I go, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
If I freaking hit a freaking mailbox when I'm drunk, if I hit a freaking stop sign when I'm freaking drunk, if I freaking blow a freaking red light and freaking got to swerve to get out of the way, freaking ran over a freaking rabbit one time, and I said, no, didn't freaking happen. Kept going.
And for Weakers and Tweakers out there who'd like to see us work on a screenplay called freaking Doctor Footage about a freaking hilarious freaking doctor who's always getting caught up in situations like this, getting drunk, driving over freaking eggplant, driving over freaking rabbits and into stop signs.
He can drive over a freaking eggplant. I think that would be freaking...
Yeah, that'd be freaking hilarious.
Yeah,
because he's a freaking doctor and he took a freaking oath to keep everything alive, and now he's killing a freaking poor freaking eggplant. So, if you
It's coming soon.
yeah, starring freaking Sandy, the Sandman Farkas as the main character, and freaking Taylor the Sandman Lofton as the second main character, and Doug Jordan is a freaking bad guy, and freaking Teddy Richard is the young guy that freaking is basically just freaking trying to have sex all the freaking time.
Yeah, he's a freaking horny part of the movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be rated R.
Honestly, freaking best part.
Yeah, it's gonna be rated R for tons of freaking sex, drugs, alcohol, and freaking Elton John's gonna be in it having gay sex, and we're gonna show all of it too. So, if you didn't like freaking Rocket Man, well, guess what? You got a chance now to freaking see it the way it was originally supposed to be made, and the movie's gonna be called freaking Doctor Footage. Last week, Brexit Party leader Nigel Farage reportedly refused to get off of his campaign bus because people gathered around it were carrying milkshakes, according to Fox News. See, I read a headline like this and I just say, "Oh, what the freaking heck is wrong with carrying freaking milkshakes?" And then I read the next line, and it goes, "Oh, it makes sense." Because the next line is, "Just days earlier, Farage was covered in a caramel shake while campaigning in Newcastle."
Sounds great.
And then after Farage and his security detail were alerted by the Brexit Party leader, but the Brexit Party leader was advised not to get off the bus. According to Kent Live, the ex-UK Independence Party man did eventually get off the bus, but stayed close to the vehicle as he spoke to supporters. So this freaking guy, this is a freaking hilarious story about a guy who loves freaking milkshakes so much he can't freaking control himself, and he covers himself in freaking milkshakes. And he probably, when he's making love in a freaking pool of freaking milkshake, caramel chocolate delight, Geez Louise down on my knees. One of my favorite freaking milkshakes is if you go to freaking Arby's and you get the freaking, and I don't drink a bit of coffee, but if you go to freaking Arby's, you get the Jamocha milkshake. It doesn't even taste like freaking coffee. It just tastes like freaking ice cream milkshake.
Yeah, it tastes like freaking chocolate freaking milkshake. Yeah, that's a freaking great milkshake. I love this guy's freaking, this guy, what? I'm sorry, I'm freaking drunk. I like the idea that this guy's on a freaking champagne bus.
Yeah, and this guy's on a freaking party Brexit bus. For weakers and tweakers out there that don't know what Brexit is, Sandy and I would like to help you out with that, because Geez Louise is very freaking complicated, and most people will never understand it in their freaking lifetime. So if you listen to freaking Our Week in Review, you can go say, "Oh, listen," you go to a party, you say, "Listen, I know what freaking Brexit is because I listen to freaking Our Week in Review by freaking with." And I heard it from the horse's freaking mouth. So Brexit is basically when a guy he rides around a freaking in a champagne bus. He rides around in a freaking champagne bus. He's getting freaking drunk. He's freaking he's basically leading the freaking the whole freaking party. It's a big freaking Brexit is a big freaking party full of freaking milkshake drinking, tossing. People get covered in freaking milkshakes. They wear those freaking hilarious freaking masks with the long freaking nose on it. The plague masks is what I think they were called. The bubonic plague masks. They're wearing those. They're wearing freaking capes and tuxedos, and they're all freaking having sex with each other.
They're having sex with each other. Yeah. Yeah, Brexit, we have something like Brexit in the freaking United States of freaking America. It's called a freaking swingers party. Basically, you put on a freaking mask and you have sex with whoever the freaking heck you want. It doesn't matter where you're freaking sticking it. Doesn't matter if it's freaking male. Doesn't matter if it's freaking female. It's freaking anonymous freaking love sex. And the only thing we don't have is a freaking champagne bus, which is what makes freaking Brexit. Which makes Brexit the freaking party that it freaking is. And good for freaking Nigel Farage, Nigel Farage, for having the best freaking party of his freaking life.
Yeah, and seriously, if Mr. Porridge, if you're freaking out there, good luck to you, and keep the freaking milkshakes coming. And if you want to freaking come to freaking America and teach us how to do a freaking swingers party with a freaking champagne bus, so we can do it Brexit style, go ahead and freaking just let us know ahead of time so we can freaking be there, because it sounds freaking hilarious. And I'm sure that even you would freaking welcome freaking Sunjay and freaking Doug Jordan into your freaking loving freaking having sex with basically anything that freaking walks, arms, and you'd let them put on those freaking hilarious freaking bubonic plague masks and capes, and you wouldn't even give them freaking trousers, because they would just say, just start in.
Yeah, boys, freaking, he would say, boys, show me your freaking worst, give me your freaking best.
Yeah,
and that's freaking open up a freaking dialogue.
Yeah. Weakers, tweakers, thrill freaking seekers. This has been another freaking episode of freaking Our Week in Review. We are coming at you freaking live, pre-recorded but live from freaking Our Week Studios. And geez Louise, down on my freaking knees. Thank you so much for freaking listening. Next week you will have a chance to look forward to Our Week's sleeping position. Yeah, a new segment delving into the science behind freaking sleeping positions. And before we go, we do want to say this. We are here, and I know freaking Sandy the Sandman freaking agrees with me. We are here to provide a service. And what is that freaking service? It's to open up a freaking dialogue, and it's to talk about the hard freaking things that aren't easy to freaking talk about, especially not live on the air where you can really put your foot in your freaking mouth and get in a lot of freaking trouble.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that and any freaking radio host would tell you, you know, they're scared of that happening, freaking putting your freaking foot in your mouth. But that's not us, because what we want to do is we want to freaking open up a freaking dialogue, and we want to get to the freaking reality of it all. We want to get somewhere. We want to freaking make some freaking progress. And without freaking opening up a freaking dialogue, you're not freaking doing anything. You're not doing a freaking lick of that.
Yeah, you can't do it. It's easier freaking said than done without opening up a freaking real dialogue. And yeah, people that basically our competitors, namely freaking
Dawson.
Namely freaking Evan Dawson from freaking WXXI Connections. He won't even make an attempt to open a freaking dialogue. He never does.
He's never freaking opened up a freaking dialogue in his freaking life. No, his shows. That's why nobody freaking listens to that freaking show.
Yeah, his job is basically to just hear him freaking blather for freaking 10 minutes about absolutely freaking nothing, and then he says, "This is my freaking art form. Is my thoughts and ideas in my brain," and we say, "Yuck," and we say, "That's disgusting." It's freaking.
We said next. No, thank you.
It's another situation of a freaking man saying whatever he wants, not checking his freaking, not checking his freaking dialogue box and saying, yeah, it's time to freaking open up and to find that hole in your freaking chest where a heart used to be, Dawson. If you could find that spot and open it up and let just a little bit of love in, maybe a little bit of sex in there, maybe get the flowing again in your penis. Geez Louise, down my knees, you might actually be able to freaking come back to life. And
most importantly, just fill that freaking hole with a freaking dialogue. You know, freaking. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Why you want the freaking semen to be flowing through his freaking penis again. But I was gonna say, yeah, just open up the freaking dialogue. You know, namely that would be the thing that I think. I think that's going to be the one thing that freaking keeps him from freaking eventually freaking offing himself is if he freaking opens up a freaking dialogue with the freaking with the freaking world with every and probably most importantly with him freaking self. I think Evan Dawson needs to freaking open up a freaking dialogue with himself and really figure out what the heck's going on with his freaking life.
Yeah, you're absolutely freaking right. And for weakers and tweakers out there, we always are ready to freaking open that box, that freaking Pandora's dialogue box, the box that holds all the freaking dialogue, and we open it up and we say, let's freaking have a freaking dialogue. And without that, you're really not saying freaking anything.
No, you're not. You're saying you're if you don't open freaking here's the thing, and this might freaking ruffle some freaking feathers, but if you're not freaking opening up a dialogue, you're not freaking saying anything.
Yeah.
You're not saying anything worth freaking hearing. You're not saying anything worth freaking talking about. That's the freaking Farkas guarantee.
Yep. And then you heard it first, folks, on WAYO LP Rochester, on freaking iTunes and freaking SoundCloud, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your freaking podcasts, as long as it's one of those two things I just freaking mentioned. Weakers, tweakers, thrill seekers, this has been another great freaking episode, absolutely freaking hilarious episode of freaking Our Week in Review. I am your freaking host, Taylor the freaking Sandman Lofton. With me, as always, is your other freaking host, Sandy the Sandman freaking Farkas. And you're listening to freaking WAYO LP Our Week in freaking Review. I don't know what else. I can't believe that freaking Doug Jordan is